I think when we first moved to Speke, it took some getting used to, because ministry is different. And you just realise that it's just going to be years and years of walking with people and submerging yourself into their lives, and you're not going to see, quick changes. It's just time, and it's just loving them, isn't it, and walking with them. And you can be discouraged when you hear other churches, we've got these people coming and this is happening and that, and you just feel like all we're doing is, but that's good, we're walking with them, aren't we? And
in working class environments, certain sins and problems are easier. For instance, domestic violence, it's a lot easier for somebody on a council estate to flee domestic violence, whereas middle class people are often trapped in it because of the risk. I don't know if you just share one of the problems we've faced.
Yeah, just I think as well the expectation of the church as well, isn't it? So for us, because we're confronted, as you know, confronted with so many issues like that, and people don't have any filter, and you're used to dealing with what I guess is maybe deemed profound issues in other churches, seem very day to day in our church. And so when we're confronted with a situation with somebody in a domestic violence situation or sexual abuse, or we deal with it day to day, so we're used to dealing with it, although it never becomes okay. And I know when people who have been in our church that have been in other churches and have expressed and said what's happening in their own lives, there's this sense of you've got to mask it over and not tell people, and so it's quite refreshing in one sense as a middle class person coming into our church, because I think they feel a sense of they can, for once, maybe release themselves and actually tell what's really going on in their lives, or what their own heart issues are that they've had to even suppress for years, which we've had a lot of, haven't we? Sort of different people come to us and say we haven't been able to share this, we've been brought up in the church, we haven't been able to, but because we're in a situation, I mean, it can be the other side as well, can't it? Because
freaks people out,
isn't it? So we've had, we've had people come and say, we might want to join in, like someone's come up and gone, but and they're like, we don't want our kids hearing that, we can't come to your church, because so it's funny mix, isn't it? Sort of
Now that's interesting, isn't it? This is a thing that I think is about council estate ministry, is who are we responsible for, who are we trying to help, who are we responsible. So you're finding there you're getting people being referred to you, so you have a heart for them, and you go and you're reaching out to them. You've got people who you might call your church members, and then they've got extended friends and families, and you become aware of issues that they've got, so you're trying to help them. I mean, that's one of the challenges we find too. I mean, even if we've got a membership of a church, as it were, actually the breadth of the demands on our resources and our time and so on spreads really, really far and wide.
So how it works out might not be clear cut, but in theory, the idea is so my responsibility is to the church members, and that's where my primary attention must be. But the secondary one is obviously evangelism, and encourage them to evangelise, and for me to evangelise, and to provide opportunities to evangelise in the community. So that's where we get the referrals for. The referrals, the ministries we set up to help young offenders and fatherless families and single mums, is a way of providing a service. So the service we provided was a community chaplaincy. So every help we gave was with the condition that the primary help was the gospel. So this young girl who came on board with us via youth offending came, and we said, this is how we're going to help you. You come to church, you do this, you get involved with us, and basically I was very strict, and basically sent her packing twice. So I don't trust you, I don't believe you. You've got to earn my trust. Anyway, she every standard I said, get off Facebook, get rid of your mobile phone, do the. She did everything, didn't she? We sent her up to Scotland for a couple of weeks with 20 schemes to see how keen she was, and she came back, and so we weren't just helping somebody who was being a head case, we were helping somebody who was putting the effort in. And then she ended up professing faith and getting baptised, And then about a year or two later, she fell away, didn't she?
So she, so she's not. I mean, ultimately, obviously, we want people to be saved and coming to church, and we believe in. You just don't know what that potential will look like in the future. She definitely,
She knows the gospel.
She knows the gospel. Her life isn't that way anymore. It's not hectic. It's not. She's not offending. So in that sense, from a social point of view, it's not nothing compared to being saved, is it? But she isn't doing that now, and so you just hope and pray, don't you, that what that was put into her will. And our situation is quite unique because Ian's had he was involved in education, weren't you? And I was in social services. We are known in the council, so people will refer to us because they know us. And they don't mind that we give people the gospel. It's quite unique, I think, because they know we're not some headbanger that's just setting up some. So it's.
But austerity helps us as well, because there's no male social workers, male probation workers. So often when the female workers are struggling with a man or a young lad, they'll contact us and say, I have to turn schools down now. We don't have enough time or resources to do the work that's required. So that's another frustration, because I see churches struggling to find inroads into communities, yet we've got open doors in so many areas, but we don't have the time or the staff to do with it. So that's a big frustration for us, the lack of mature godly workers. So the harvest is plentiful, but there's just a few people.
We experience that.
We've been saying that just recently, haven't we? And it's because the evangelism that we're doing is that kind of stuff that you've just described, which is really time consuming and really it takes a lot of effort. So evangelism in another setting might be let's run an evangelism course. It'll last for an hour and a half. And it'll be once a week on a Thursday night. There you go, I've done my evangelism. But you're talking about evangelism, which is completely, this is how we do the evangelism, isn't it, on the estate? As we reach out to that person that's been referred into us with particular needs, and that stuff it's not 1.5 hours once a week on a Thursday night. It's completely different, isn't it?
Oh, definitely.
And it's good. It's real life, and but that's where the challenge is, and that's why we've often said, the fields are white for harvest.
Well, the example you'll have is, in some contexts, you'll do set aside an hour for evangelism, and the unbeliever will bring up a question like, what about evolution and the Big Bang Theory? And you'll say, all right, read this or watch this and come back next week and we'll talk about it. And that's it. Whereas we'll sit down with somebody and they'll say, how can there be a God when my granddad abused me since I was 6-year-old, and then my mum commits suicide, and then you sat there and you're like, whoa. You're like, you can't say, go and watch this, we'll come back next week and talk about it. You're invested in the next couple of hours or days counselling someone through some horrendous ordeals. It's and that in itself is. I remember taking Nathan, our assistant. We went to meet this family and we left. We were only there 2 hours. He went, I've never been so tired in my life. That feels like I've done a full shift down the mine or something. And this guy is just brand new into ministry. I said, mate, this is ministry. They don't teach you this at seminary. Apply church history to that situation there.